We're going to go ahead and get started. Of course, my name is Jessica Bowers. Just to give you a little bit of background on me, I've spent 13 years helping small businesses and entrepreneurs to market their company and their products in amongst all the other hats that I also wore for those small businesses. And essentially what I'm going to do today is help you guys apply those principles to marketing yourselves in your book. Those of you who attended the first session with the Ask the Agent heard them talk about the fact that honestly, it's not what it used to be, right? Used to, a publishing company would pick up your book and they would handle the bulk of the marketing for it. But honestly, they're just not doing that anymore. And the marketing departments they do have are stretched paper thin. Having worked in corporate marketing, I can tell you, oh my gosh. We often are putting out fires instead of being proactive. So it's going to be on you to be the proactive voice for your book and yourselves. Also, kind of different in the market, something else the agents mentioned, people are invested in you. They buy a book from you. They don't necessarily just pick up a book and don't pay attention to the author anymore. There was always a subset of people who were super invested in the author. Now you're getting more and more of those people who want to know about you. But in this digital age, when you're sharing things on social media, the question becomes, what do you share? How much do you share? How much of you do you give your audience? So we're going to go over that as well. Something I'm going to go ahead and say out front is I've got some worksheets. I did not print off a bunch of them because I had no idea how many folks were going to show up and I didn't want to waste the paper. If you guys would like a copy of these worksheets that I'm going to walk through some of the information on, please just email me or message any of our social media platforms because I monitor those, and I'm happy to send you the PDF, okay? We're going to start off by talking about branding and voice. And this seems like the silliest question in the world when I ask it, but I really want you to think about it. Who are you? Who are you? Who are your readers looking at? Because, for example, if you look on my social media, you are not going to necessarily see content with my family, unless it's mom. She tags me in everything. You're not really, I don't put my kid on my social media. My spouse is not on my social media because he hates social media. So these are pieces of my life that my audience do not get to see. They get to see how much I love coffee. Because, oh my gosh, I'm basically 90% coffee. They get to see my animals. They get to see me going places like conferences or bookstores or to an apple orchard or something like that. That's the me they get to see. Even when you're out and about, something to keep in mind, and this is something I'm like, ingrain this in your head. Never not be contenting. Content is literally everything you're doing. And you get to decide if that particular piece of content is part of your brand or not. Okay? For example, you can make this entire conference part of your contenting. You can talk about what you've learned. You can talk about what you've enjoyed. You can snap photos. You can get videos. You can get pictures with other people. That becomes part of your brand. You're an author. You're a writer. This is who you are. And everybody in this room is a writer, right? Okay, because there's so many times I ask people at conferences, and they'll say, I was like, do you write? Are you passionate about what you write? You're a writer. That's part of your identity. That's your brand. You're a writer. Make that part of your marketing. Share little bits about what you're doing. Share your milestones. As a writer, I've got 500 words written today. I've got 1,500 words written today. If you don't tell them what you wrote on, it could be an email. Please don't write 500-word emails. It could be an email. But all of this becomes pieces that you let folks into. Because at the end of the day, your branding is who you are. And it's giving people that access, and it's making them feel like they know you. That's who they want. Yes?
Get this, but so do you have a personal and a personal page in the office?
I will get to that. So make sure that you are creating that content to embody that brand, that who you are. Okay? What do I do? You're obviously writers. That's part of your brand now. What else? I mentioned my animals. Part of my brand is I have goats, and I share that with my viewership. If you've got some little quirk, you've got a hobby that you really love. Maybe not related to your writing. Maybe you do crochet. Maybe you do underwater basket weaving. I don't know. But whatever it is, you can share that. You can share those little pieces because then it makes the audience feel like they know you better. Whether or not they're somebody who's into goats or making cheese or crocheting or underwater basket weaving, they now understand you better as a person. They feel more connected to you because at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. Connection. They want to feel connected to you. They want to feel connected to who you are as a person, and that becomes your brand. Okay? Something I want you to keep in mind as you're deciding what your brand is and who you are is not just your immediacy. What you're doing right now is important. What you're going to be doing is important too. That means that if you're marketing a specific book or a specific genre, and you don't know for a fact that that's exactly all you're going to do for the next 2 to 3 years, don't pigeonhole yourself in having just that content. Spread your content around. That's why I mentioned the other things that you can share, the other ways that you can brand yourself. So don't get yourself pigeonholed into just sharing one specific kind of content, because eventually you're going to run out of that content. And then if you pivot, your audience is going to be like whiplash. Okay? And understand why you want to build an audience. The obvious question is, I want to sell books, right? I want the publishers to like me. That's really, really the base for most of you guys in here. But it could be deeper than that. Y'all could have aspirations of running workshops. Y'all could have aspirations of having multiple genres that you write in. You know, I don't just want to attract romance writers. I also want to attract young adult writers, or readers rather. I also want to maybe, and not just focus on my readers, maybe I want to speak to writers. Keep that in mind when you're creating your content early on. Pay attention to the people that already share content in those spaces. Pay attention to how people interact with it. Because what you will normally find is that the content that's getting attention is the content that's asking people to also be invited to the conversation. It's not just, here's my thing, buy my thing. Nobody wants to be marketed to like that all the time. That's the used car salesman approach, right? It's in your face, it's annoying. It's one of the reasons why people don't open all their emails anymore. They don't just want you to be soliciting them all the time. Invite them to a conversation with you. So not only are you sharing part of yourself with them, you're inviting them to share part of themselves with you. And you can do it in the silliest ways. Okay, you don't have to, you can take yourself as seriously as you want to, but I invite you to relax and let people in. Prop your feet up, let your hair down. Okay? For example, one of the recent posts I made that got a ridiculous amount of responses was literally, what's the best autumn dessert? Fried apple pies or pumpkin pie? And I just let people go. And I had all, you know, of course there are people like, oh, well, what about pecan pie? Or people love sharing their opinions. Invite them to do so. Make that part of your branding. Invite them to the conversation. Now, I want to talk about who your audience is and how you find them. Okay? And I call these customer archetypes. In your world, it will be reader archetypes. You will have more than one of these. And what I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to want you to be as specific as you can. Of course, who's your customer? Who's your reader? Everybody. That's a nice response. Is that realistic? No. Realistically, everyone in the world is not your reader. Everyone in the world is not your customer. So I want you to think about who that person is. Envision them. Literally picture who this. I want you to know what they're going to order at Waffle House. I want you to know how they like their coffee. I want you to know how they spend their weekends, what kind of hobbies they like, how do they dress, what's their job, who is this person. You don't have to have just one kind of reader or customer archetype. You can have multiple. But if you're very honest with yourself, you will have one specific number one customer archetype, and then you'll have secondary and tertiary archetypes. Okay? And that may be based on, maybe you write multiple genres, or maybe it's just your genre has appeal across multiple groups. But understanding exactly who this person is will tell you exactly how to interact with them and how to reach them. And the reason all that is important is because different groups of people are on different platforms. So you have to understand that before you understand what platforms to jump onto. And those dynamics have changed in recent years. So now you have Facebook, for example, one of the largest platforms. Primarily their demographic is starting to skew into, you've got your millennials and up, right? A lot of the younger folks, not necessarily on Facebook anymore. That's some dinosaur stuff to them. They're on Instagram and they're on TikTok. So that's where you need to be if you're writing young adult. Okay? But if you're writing children's books, your target audience is probably the people on Facebook, because those are the moms, those are the dads, those are the parents who are going to be looking for the material, right? That's where those archetypes are going to come in really handy. Yes? I was about to address that. Okay, so the platform formerly known as Twitter, and I'm going to refer to it as Twitter, and Elon can fight me on it. It's an unstable platform right now. Everybody knows that. It skews very heavily, even prior to Elon's takeover of it, and even more so now. It is skewing very, very heavily male, upper class, like mid to upper socioeconomic status, white, and typically in the age ranges of between 30 to 70. Okay, so that's, and most of that demographic is actually concentrated in the 40s. So it's very interesting because of all of the different platforms, that's the one with the least stratification of its users.
Is it possible to market on Discord, like running a Discord servers, for like 3 years? Do you have any advice for that?
I would say yes, but carefully. Don't stretch yourself too thin when you're doing your marketing. It takes time to create all this stuff. And when you just plop some content on there, you can't just leave it there. You've got to go back. You've got to respond. You've got to interact with people, okay? A lot of those Discord servers you can actually find from the other social media platforms. So, for example, you can join a Facebook group for writers, and they'll say, we also have a Discord server. You can jump on there to have more conversational type things with folks, to post things on it. So I would say yes, depending on your demographic in the group. So pay very close attention to how you got there. And if you get into these groups, who's in it. Don't just immediately jump into any group or any platform and start throwing your content around. Take a look around. Read the room. See who's in there with you. See what they're saying. See how they're interacting. If you get into a Discord server because you thought it would be a good place to go and it turns out it's full of trolls, that's just going to be a waste of your time and energy, Same thing with Reddit. Reddit has a lot of subreddits. There's a lot of stuff on there you can do. Reddit tends to be one of those things you've got to be careful with because it is also, y'all, the internet is dark and full of trolls, okay? So be very mindful of your platforms. And while we're talking about that, I do want to touch on how you deal with that negativity, okay? If you get folks coming at you, you have options. First of all, you don't have to attend every party that you're invited to. You don't. You don't have to go and play nice with the bad people. Some platforms, most of them nowadays, will let you delete their comments. They will let you block that person. They can then create another account and come at you again. It's up to you if you want to deal with that. You can just keep deleting and banning. You can respond. Understand that you're not responding to them because they're dedicated to being hateful. You're responding to the other people who are looking at that. You're responding to the other folks who may also be the kind of line. Okay? So be mindful of that. Yes.
So are we using the various platforms to direct people to our website?
I'm going to cover that too. So, actually, that was talking about algorithms. That's part of talking about the algorithms, which is actually the best. Then you're going to be looking at your content format because each different demographic likes their format differently. And it depends on what platform you're on. So, for example, on Facebook, you can have a post this long full of words, but then also some pictures and stuff, right? Instagram, kind of the same thing, but really it's a visual platform. So it's less, you're not going to just have a text-only post or something like that. You can't really share links on Instagram. So from there, what you're going to do is you're going to have your photos and videos, reels. Reels are really big. Y'all, I'm going to tell you right now, don't post a 10-minute video to literally anything. Nobody's going to watch it. There's been a study done where back when I was a kid, they said that the average attention span was like 40 minutes, okay? Back in the early 2000s, when I was working the school system, they told us average attention span was 15 to 20 minutes, and I thought that was generous. Now, the average attention span is less than 5 minutes, and frankly, when you're on social media, you've got 30 seconds. So, 30 seconds to get somebody's attention, all right? And don't go over 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds, because people are going to tune out. They're going to scroll past, all right? So understand who you're talking to. The older demographics, they prefer pictures, text. Younger demographics, 10-second video, and go. Okay? There's not a lot of stratification there between any other type. It's really just an age-related demographic when it comes to the type of content there. Now, and varying your content, don't just share pictures, don't just share videos, vary it up. Switch it up for folks. Because seeing the same thing over and over again gets boring, right? Also, the algorithm likes it better. Those short form videos actually get you bumped higher in the algorithm. Okay? Honestly, platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram give priority to Reels, first of all, which are less than 60 seconds. And any videos or anything else that is 10 seconds or less, because they know their user base is more likely to look at those. Okay?
Does
Yes.
your research show, like on Instagram and Facebook, if more people watch their stories?
The stories are not as looked at, but the algorithm likes to see you put them there. So what I'll often do is make your post, then share it to your story. Okay, you don't have to create separate content for that necessarily. Now let's talk about how much the algorithm hates external links. I don't care what platform you're on. I don't care if it's LinkedIn. I don't care if it's Twitter. I don't care. They hate for you to send people off their platform because they don't make the money there. If you are religiously sharing external posts, the algorithm is going to very quietly push you down and back. Okay? It's not going to tell you that it doesn't like you, but it's going to tell you it doesn't like you because your viewership is going to go down. Okay? And the other thing to keep in mind is that when you're sharing these external links, of course you're wanting to push people to your website or to push people to buy your, Amazon, go to Amazon and buy your book or wherever you have it. There's ways to do that. Two things. One, you can share an external link. I wouldn't recommend doing it more than once or twice a week. Any more than that, and the algorithm's going to be a little funny with you. Two, use your bios. So when you first set up your social media accounts, and these bios can change, I would recommend changing them regularly. But oftentimes there's going to be a space there for you to link a website or to have a direct link to an Amazon page or something like that. Don't ever use the phrase buy or go to or click link or anything like that. The algorithm will pick that up and it red flags. Instead, use things like check my bio for more info. Especially on Instagram, this is really big where you can't share links. So put that link in your bio and direct people there. Like check the bio and people will look. So that's how you kind of get around the external link conundrum. Yes.
Is Linktree useful?
Linktree can be useful on certain platforms. For example, TikTok actually basically requires you to use Linktree if you're sharing links, especially more than one link. I have not seen the numbers on it, but I've heard that platforms like Facebook are not liking Linktree as much. I don't know the reasoning behind that. Zuckerberg is a mystery to all of us. But I would say if you've got multiple links you're sharing, take advantage of Linktree.
Can you put it in the bio? If like your
Yes.
one link in the
Yes. And try also, if you have links in your bio, try to only have the one link. Because if you have multiple, the algorithm will pick that up. They don't like that as much either. So using something like, so if you have a website you want to direct people to, and your Amazon page, and whatever else, use that link tree because that will really help you a lot.
So bios are in your profile, right?
Yes. So, and it depends, that's where if people go and they look at your general profile, they'll see your picture, they'll see your name, and then there's a little bio there. And usually now, used to they didn't have this, but most platforms now actually have where you can have a few words for your bio, and then there'll be a separate line there for any links that you have. And that's your safe space for a link. Okay. Anywhere else, be sparing. And while I'm saying be sparing and talking about how the algorithm will push you down, you're going to notice if you are watching your numbers, and I'm going to talk about how you can watch your numbers on the different platforms here in a minute. If you're watching your numbers, you're going to notice they do this. They're all over the place. You're going to notice you're doing really well, and then, okay? And it's frustrating because you're not really doing anything different. What the heck is going on? It's because they want you to pay. They want you to pay. They want those sweet, sweet ad dollars from you. What I'm going to tell you is keep going. Give them those ad dollars if you want to, or if you have something specific you really want to boost, keep going. You don't have to do the ads to continue to get attention. You just have to not let them deter you from it. So perseverance is, and honestly, if you're going through all the querying process and everything, you've already got perseverance in spades. So leverage some of that and just push through. You will notice, and now we're going to talk about the difference between the pages and the personal profiles. You will notice that there are some platforms that offer you business profiles versus personal pages, and you get access to different information there. Something to keep in mind on Facebook specifically. You as a business page, or for example, Broadleaf is a business page, they've now removed our ability to reliably tag personal profiles. Which means if one of these authors attends a conference and they don't have a professional page, I can't tag them. It'll look like it's going to, and when I click submit, it's gone. Okay? And they did that because they're trying to make sure that businesses are, first of all, not spamming people, and second of all, they're trying to make sure that if you are interacting with a business, you have a professional page. Because the other thing to keep in mind is when you have a professional page, your algorithms are even worse. So you will get more views on a personal page, but you don't have the ability to be tagged, and you don't have the ability to see your numbers, your metrics, your views, your things like that. On business pages, you will have Meta that works for both Instagram and Facebook, and that will show you your traffic. Paying attention to that traffic is important because it will show you which pieces of content you're making are actually resonating with your group. So for example, a lot of the content that I created for Broadleaf, I went back retroactively. I wasn't doing their marketing last year, but I went back retroactively and looked at the history, and I found the posts that were the highest views, the highest likes, all those interactions, and I was able to replicate that. So being able to replicate what works is important, and that's one of the ways you can leverage the metrics. Now, There are some platforms that give you those metrics automatically. TikTok does that. You do not have to have a professional business TikTok account to see your metrics. They will go ahead and show you, who your audience is, what they're interacting with, when they're interacting, and all of that. Okay. With a professional page too, the other thing you get on specifically Instagram and Facebook is the ability to schedule your posts, and that can be very valuable for those of us with very little time. Oftentimes I will go in and go ahead and schedule the next week or at least a few days worth of posts to roll out so that I don't have to be sitting on top of it, making sure that I'm live sharing things right at certain times, right? Yes. No. No, it does not cost anything extra unless you're on the old Bird app. But we do not speak of the dark place. But yeah, and now we're hearing that he may make every user pay there. So Twitter's a bit of an anomaly there, but you do not have to pay to have a business page on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, any of those. They don't charge you for any of that. So Twitter's the anomaly. The other ones don't charge you for that. If you have a personal page and you're dedicated to keeping that personal page, or you have a bunch of different social media pages on a bunch of different platforms, and you don't want to spend time going between all of them to get your post scheduled, you can use a product like Hootsuite. I have used that. They do have I think it's a 30-day free trial. Give it a try, see if you like it. It does cost money after that, but you can link all of your social media accounts to it and get your post scheduled that way. If you schedule your posts, don't leave it and forget it though. Make sure you have a time set. Put it in your calendar to go, if you have to, it depends on your calendars if you're super busy. Remind yourself to go back and look at your posts so that if somebody comments, you can respond, or at the very least, react something so that they know they've been seen, and that's at the end of the day what your audience wants to know. Yes?
I forget, what were the two that you said do allow you to schedule?
That is Instagram and Facebook, because they're tied. Meta owns both of those. So what you get when you create a business page there is the Meta Business Suite. And you can actually tie it together so that it will post to both Instagram and Facebook at the same time. And actually, you can tie them together so that if you post to Instagram, it'll go ahead and cross-post to your business page on Facebook without you doing a thing.
Could you explain again what is it good or bad to have both a personal page and a business profile?
You have to have a personal page to have a business profile because somebody has to admin those pages.
Okay.
I would recommend all of you start author pages, because when you start doing events, if you go to author signings, if you go to, be a guest panelist somewhere, you want them to tag you. They want to tag you. It helps everybody's algorithm to do the tagging. Tagging is super important, y'all. Never, ever, ever forget to tag everybody that is in a picture. Tag the folks and use your hashtags thoughtfully, okay? Hashtags are kind of a way for the algorithm to understand what it is you're posting. It also helps people in searches. So if I search writers, I want Broadleaf stuff to come up. I want your stuff to come up, okay? Use those hashtags. Don't go crazy with them. I say that as somebody who throws those things around like confetti. Do as I say, not as I do. Your best practice in almost every platform is to use up to 6 hashtags. What I recommend doing is using at least 3 or 4 that are exactly related to what you're doing. Okay? Up to 3 to 4, we'll say that. Maybe you just want to use 1. And then you can kind of get a little silly with it, right? You can be kind of funny. For, hashtag, I hope I don't spill my coffee. But my other hashtag says hashtag coffee lovers, hashtag writers life. So I'm pulling in those audiences, and then I've got a kind of tongue-in-cheek thing there for them. Keeping it light, keeping it fun for them. And believe it or not, people look at that. Something else to keep in mind, because as you're typing in your hashtags, it will come up with a list and you can pick. Take a look and you will see numbers next to that. Those numbers are the number of times that tag has been used. That tells you what the most popular tags are. You've got a double-edged sword there. Because one, you want to use the popular ones, right? Because that's what everybody's looking for. But two, so is everybody else. They're all using those. So you do kind of have a little bit of a problem of being drowned out, but at the same time, you don't want to leave those off because you want to be part of that tsunami of content. Yes.
Do all of the platforms use hashtags?
Yes. All the platforms use them. They are of varying degrees of importance depending on. And we have seen the importance of the hashtags go down, but especially if you're trying to pull in anybody new or show anybody new any information, that's when, for example, I might be looking for a writer's group. I'm not super sure how to go about doing that. So I'm going to type it into my search bar. Those hashtags are going to help people find Broadleaf if I properly tag it. So I would say yes, still use them. You don't have to go crazy with them. You don't have to do them on every post, but make sure that you are still leveraging those. Okay? Trying to be mindful of our time here. Yes.
Okay, so what are some good hashtags for, like if I'm, like, here I'm gonna post, I already did what Broadleaf Writers Conference, the acronym
Yeah.
hashtag. What would be another one you would ask about?
Honestly, go to any of our posts and you'll see, and understand that the popular hashtags kind of change a little bit. So there's no shame in Googling that. But writer's life, writers, writing, author, books, bookish. Some things you might not think about, like bookish, writing community, writers community, live your best life. That's actually a really popular hashtag, and you can apply that to a lot of different things that you're posting. So all of those are fairly high hit hashtags that you can use. At any given time, if you start noticing your hits going down, your new likes going down, feel free to literally Google popular Facebook hashtags for writers. And believe it or not, you'll get some information there. It might be slightly outdated. You got to kind of have to weed through it, and that's something I do regularly because the popular content, the popular hashtags, the way these algorithms work changes, y'all. You could be high on the hog one day and left flat the next. They don't tell you when they're changing the algorithms. They don't care if it affects your numbers. I'm going to give you an example from TikTok. I have an account on TikTok with 15,000 followers. I regularly, reliably only get 150 to 400 views on any of my videos. And then I'll have a video that's like 30,000 views. And I'm looking at this like, what in the heck? And oftentimes it's what you will see is your numbers are good, and like I said before, some of it is because they want those sweet ad dollars, and some of it's because they've changed something on the back end with the algorithm. And you just have to retune it. That's that whole keep going thing. Keep going, keep teaching the algorithm. If you have a new account, you've got to teach the algorithm who you are and who to bring to your door. There's a couple of ways that you can do that. First of all, it's not just about the content you make or the hashtags you make. It's about who you're interacting with. So who are you liking? Who are you commenting on? Who are you sharing posts from? The algorithm takes a note of that. And what it's going to do is it's going to match up people who also share and like and comment on that same kind of content. And they're going to be more likely to show your content there. Okay? This is especially true on platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Less true on Facebook. So that's an important thing to remember too. It's not just what you're posting, it's who you're interacting with. You are teaching the algorithm about you. If you start, and I tell people this too, not necessarily strictly related to what you guys are doing, but if you start seeing content on your social media you don't like, it's because the algorithm thinks that's who you are and you've got to teach it otherwise. Mm-hmm. Don't interact with stuff you don't want to see. Don't interact with stuff that makes you angry and you don't want to see that in your feed. Go seek out the stuff you want to see. Go seek out the people you want pushed to your content and interact with them. Reteach that algorithm who you are. And you got to do that every once in a while, because every time they do, that algorithm changes, sometimes it loses its mind. Like, no, thank you. I don't need to see 50,000 people holding up their bass on their boats. Thank you. That's not what I'm here for. And I have to reteach it who I am. Okay, don't get discouraged when that happens. Once again, perseverance. Keep telling it who you are. Keep telling it who you want to talk to.
Can I ask you a quick question on this? I know this is a lot, but, so even say I'm a reel on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
If I just click on it, but don't comment or like it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So Instagram still notices that I.
It still sees that, yes. And what you got to understand is there's a hierarchy. So clicking it is here. Reacting to it is here. Commenting on it is here, and sharing it is here. When you comment on anything, make it a rich comment. Encourage people for those rich comments. That, hey, cool. Looks like a cool comment. The algorithm sees that as nothing. So make sure that when you're commenting on something or you're inviting people to comment, get them to comment things that are actually at least 4 words and related to whatever it is you're looking at, because the algorithm will notice. Yes.
When you're saying sharing, are you talking about like when you share it in on your story, or are you talking about like I send it to my friend?
Yes.
Both.
All of it.
Okay.
Anytime you share anything, whether you share it to your story, whether you share it to your wall, whether you send it in a private message, all of that is seen as sharing.
So all the stupid stuff that my husband sends me is now going into my algorithm on my dating Instagram.
It can, yes.
Cool.
Have you noticed anything weird on your Instagram?
I mean, I've noticed it. It's just a.
And then you look at it. That's the other
Yeah,
thing. You click on it, you look at it.
and-
Yeah. But that's another
Cool.
thing where you'll see a lot of people will have separate accounts. So you may have like a separate account that he gets to send the silly stuff to. And then you have your actual account where you're professional writer. So yes, that will impact it. Now, like I said, clicking on those links and just looking at it is not going to impact it necessarily as much, because they are weighted. But understand that when you're interacting with any content, the algorithm sees you. The algorithm sees all. Yeah, honestly, you want to talk about tracking. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to do, because we've only got about 20 minutes left. One of the things that I wanted to do is help you guys understand how to make the content itself, not just how to navigate these algorithms or these social media things. I want you to understand what it is you're making for the good content. I know a lot of people, a lot of writers especially, are introverts. They don't like to see themselves on camera. I didn't either. Y'all, it's been a battle for me to be right with taking pictures of myself and videos of myself. It's been a years-long battle. Understand, so many people feel like that. And when you are open and you share, you make other people comfortable to be open and share. I've had so many people that have come to me and been like, oh, I wouldn't have ever thought to do that, but since I saw you do it, I'm going to do it. I'm like, great, do it. Do the thing. Okay? The other thing I'm going to tell you is that when you are taking pictures or videos, and this comes from my amateur photography skills, be mindful of your lighting, the shadows, your composition, and the angles. That was 4 and 5. On the angles. So for example, I'm not going to take a picture here, like this, with my like quadruple chins. I'm going to make sure that I'm raised up, because that's going to also give a good angle on my face. So know your angles. Know your best side, right? Play with it a little bit. Get comfortable with it. Send those things to your friends, like, your bestie, and be like, okay, how much of a goblin do I look like, right? And honestly, sometimes I still share those goblin pictures because it makes me relatable. I am not, a painted Insta model. It's not what I do. I am a real person, and I want my audience to see me as a real person, and real people are not perfect all the time. I don't want to be perfect all the time, and I don't want somebody else to think they need to be perfect all the time. So I don't worry about it if I don't look fabulous in every one of my pictures. And I would encourage you, I know it's uncomfortable, but I'm here to tell you right now that it's okay. You don't have to be perfect in every single picture. You don't have to be perfect in every single one of your videos. So, and natural lighting is your friend. Indoor lighting, especially fluorescence, not your friend. Try to avoid fluorescent lighting. Natural lighting is your friend. Warm lighting is your friend. Okay? When you are, the other thing to keep in mind, look very closely at the way the shadows hit you. And sometimes you can't help it depending on where you're at. But if you're trying to take a picture and there's something, either the way the lighting is setting or the way your hair is setting, and it's shadowing half your face, it could look kind of strange. So just keep in mind of that. Composition is important too. A lot of people will take centered on pictures. If you take yourself slightly to the side to show what's going on behind you, that's more engaging. It's a more dynamic picture. So be thinking, and video too. Think about that in your videos too. So think about being dynamic in those. You see me moving around a lot. Move around in those. Have some personality in your pictures and your videos and things like that. I don't know, how many of you follow Clay Chapman on any of his social medias? Yeah? Y'all, go follow him and look at his content. He is a masterclass in branding himself as engaging and exciting.
Clay Chapman.
Yeah, Clay McLeod Chapman. Yeah, he's one of our panelists.
Okay, great.
And I told him that the other day, and he's like, "Oh," and it's funny because when you see his social media, he is such a presence. But then when you talk to him, and I complimented him on that, he was so humble about it. Sometimes you don't realize what a presence you truly are. So don't be afraid to be extra. Because understand too, it's kind of like theater rules. If anybody's ever been in the theater, you know your stage is way over here, your audience is way out there. You've got to overact a little bit. Do what? Play to the back of the house. When you're on social media, you are playing to the back of the house. They've got to be able to feel you over there. So be a little more exaggerated. It's fine. It's going to feel goofy. It's going to feel goofy. That's okay. That's okay. It's still okay. The other thing to keep in mind with making content is that you're not always going to want to be on the camera. It's exhausting to make pictures and video every single day of yourself, right? It's kind of unrealistic for most people. I would recommend, one, you schedule time in your week. Put it on your calendar. This is my content making time. Okay? Have a list of the content you're going to go ahead and make. It will make you more efficient. But also, right along with varying your content, I use Canva. They should pay me for how much I tell people to use this program. I use Canva Pro. Whether or not you want to pay for the Pro account is up to you. I can tell you the Pro account is invaluable to me. I think we pay like $150 a year for it. So for it to be a yearly fee like that, and as much as I use it, it's worth it. The thing that Canva has in spades is, first of all, templates for literally everything. They have stock photos, stock videos, music. They have graphics. They have animated graphics. All of these things you can use to put together different kinds of content. And you can literally type in Instagram post, and if you're looking for a template, and it's going to come up with a selection. Do you want a square? Do you want a portrait? Do you want a reel? And you get to pick what that looks like. Then you can pick from one of their pre-made templates, or you can just pick the right size and slap on there what you want. So, used to Photoshop and things like that, there was a big barrier there as far as not only the cost of those programs, but also the usability of them. There's a lot of bells and whistles. Canva, I found to be very, very intuitive and very easy to use. I would recommend you jump on there and at the very least get yourself maybe a trial account or something, a basic level account, play around with it, see how you like it. You can also upload content to Canva to use, and with the Pro account anyway, they don't limit me on how much content I can upload or how many I can leave in there. Yes?
And you can make a website.
You can, yeah. If you don't already have a website, you can use something like Canva or Squarespace, which is very drag and droppy. And that could be a really easy way for you to get your website up and running so that you're not like trying to slog through coding, which I've done. I don't recommend it. Yes?
You can use Canva on your phone.
Yes, Canva does have an app. I use it on my laptop, but yes, it does have an app that you can use.
I
No.
use it on my laptop and I design everything, and then I have the app on my phone so I can download it and upload it. So
One of the things I wanted to try to do today, though, was not just tell you guys about all this marketing stuff, but I also wanted to create some content with you. Now, if you are up for it, because of course this is fully voluntary, I would highly recommend you get your phones out. Now, there's a few different ways we can do this. First of all, I'm moving this. I'll move it back until that. But I just want to move it over here where there's a little more natural lighting. And what I would recommend is if you have not already been taking your pictures and tagging things, tag everybody you talk to. Tag the conference. We've got a following that's going to then see your posts. Okay? So if you are up for it, if you would like to, we can come up and start creating some content. Now, we'll do a few, because literally we have less than 15 minutes. So a few, believe it or not, you can snap a lot in 15 minutes. And you can get kind of silly with it. The other thing is you can do videos without saying anything in them right now. You can do voiceovers later. And most of the platforms, especially when you're using the app on your phone, will support you then doing a voiceover. I actually recommended this for somebody who told me they don't want ever their face to be on any of their social media. They are just not doing that. But they like making grilled cheeses. So what I told him was, we can work with that. Get yourself a setup, a $6 phone stand from Amazon. Set it up. Make a grilled cheese. I don't care what you put on it. Make a grilled cheese. Okay? After you film that, take it and then do your voiceover. This particular person speaks directly to his audience, not about grilled cheese. It has nothing to do with sandwiches. But it's interesting content like that.
It's like all those people did and make
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It can seem like a weird juxtaposition, but one, it's letting people in and showing them who you are. You're inviting them into your home. You're inviting them to enjoy a sandwich with you. But you're also sharing the content you actually want to be sharing, which is about whatever it is you're marketing to your audience. Okay? So what I'm going to recommend is we don't have to actually do any sound to any of this. But we can do videos and we can do photos. And then you don't even have to do the voiceovers either. You can just stick a song on it. Every single one of these platforms has songs you can put on it. And a lot of times those songs can help boost your views. Yes?
Okay, I'm sorry. You probably maybe said I did, but when you said the voiceover, you do it like you put the picture up on Facebook and there's a way to do that? Like do voiceovers? I'm so sorry.
No, with Facebook, with Facebook itself, if I do a voiceover, I typically will do that in a different program. I will record that and put it together in Canva. But
Canva does that.
and I will usually do, because I have a microphone set up, so I will usually record it separately and then upload the audio and the video in Canva and put them together for Facebook. If you're using a different platform, for example, I think Instagram will let you do the voiceovers now. TikTok will let you do the voiceover. So it depends on what platform you're on. But all of them will let you put music on your videos. So you don't have to worry about doing the voiceovers if you don't want to. The cool thing that most of the platforms will do too is you can type out what you want and it'll read it for you. They literally have little voices you can pick from and it'll just go ahead and talk for you. You don't even have to talk. You just type it out and it'll read what you typed. And then you've got your music and your built-in lady or dude or whoever. Sometimes it's a like Shrek voice or whatever you pick. And it'll read that for you. So understand that you can put yourself out there as much as you're comfortable. Just a minute, okay. You can put yourself out there as much as you're comfortable. Every single piece of content you put out there doesn't have to have your face, have your voice, and that's part of varying it up too. Yes. You.
That music you said they could add. Do you look? I mean, I'm guessing copyright is probably the thing with videos. Do you just type in a special song, or do you see somebody's got going on so that you put in the song you want and they'll let you know if you can use it?
You can try that. What I have noticed is that's not really very effective because sometimes those videos or those songs are uploaded in a piece or they're mislabeled. When you are doing it as a business page, they go ahead and filter it out. by what is commercially available for you to use. If you're using it on your personal, they don't do that filter, but the search function is hit or miss. The best way for you to find the songs that are popular is to literally, and I hate to say this to you because it's time consuming, scroll, click on those reels, start scrolling. When you start hearing the same song over and over again, or you hear one that catches your attention, in the bottom corner, you will see a little circle or a little strip that tells you what that song is. You click on that, and it will take you to the page that shows you the song, and you can play it, and then you'll see everybody else that's used it. If you see one that is very popular, that's going to put you higher in the algorithm. You can also save sounds there. You just click the save. That way, every time you go in to add a song or to any of your videos, it will be in a little tab that says saved or favorites, depending on what platform. And you can pick from that list that way. Okay? So if you're ever just doom scrolling one evening, maybe your kids are watching something and that's a good opportunity for you to go through and see what songs are being popularly used so you can save it and use it for one of your videos at a later time. Yes?
Are you seeing something, anything particular that's kind of taking the place of Twitter, or is it still all over the place
Blue
out there?
Sky. Blue Sky is starting to take over. I don't think they've opened it up for everybody to just sign up for it. I think you do have to have an invite. I have got an invite from a buddy of mine, and I have not jumped on there yet because I have not had the time. But
What about Threads?
I've heard of Threads too. Threads is also one that's kind of gaining in popularity. With all of these kind of newish platforms,
It's related to Meta.
yeah, it's kind of hard to tell which ones are going to stick around for any length of time. So that's why when I typically talk, I talk about the big ones because y'all don't have time to be playing with these, new platforms and hoping they work. I barely have the time to do that, and it's my job. So
One thing you said that helps me a lot is to put the phone up.
Mhm.
I always end up with pictures where I appear to be looking down.
yeah, well, and it'll help your lighting too, and it'll really like brighten up your photos to do that. Yes. Look at the camera. Oh my gosh, and keep your eyes open, Mom. If you're somebody who frequently blinks or closes your eyes at the camera, or if there's so many times where, and I know you guys have seen this, where people are making content, maybe their videos especially, and they're looking at themselves.
Right.
You're not talking to yourself. You're not talking to yourself. You're talking to your audience. So look wherever your camera is, whether it's here, wherever your camera is, look there. And it's going to take some practice. You're going to have to get used to doing it. But practice it as much as you need to, okay? It's the same thing with public speaking. I tell people, record yourself, see how it is, and take a look at yourself as the way your audience is going to see you. So if the audience sees you looking down here, they don't feel like they're speaking to you or that you're speaking to them. They're like, where are you looking? So look directly in your camera, if at all possible.
If you have a speech, put it up high to look at.
Yeah. And the other thing to keep in mind is that if you do have something specific you want to say, write your script, practice your script, don't read your script. Okay? Your audience isn't going to know what that script is. If you miss a word, if you change a word, they don't care. All right? What I've done before too is you have your regular content, the video you put out. Sometimes I'll put out the gag reel too. Especially popular with animal pictures. So you get the blur of the cat. People love that. So there's ways for you to also use the bad content if you use it as part of your brand and you find it funny and your audience could find it funny. You get to decide if that's part of your brand. But it is a way for you to use some of that content you made that maybe you went, like you could throw it in Canva and put together like a 10-second reel of look at all these, look, I don't know what I was looking at, So these are all different ways that you can use your content. These are all different ways you can leverage what you're doing. You don't have to necessarily create things, sit down and create things. Whatever you're doing in the moment can also be something you're creating. It's hard to remember to grab that content. It's hard to feel comfortable and to remember to promote ourselves. I am guilty of it. I'm much better at helping other people promote themselves than I am about promoting myself. But you can do this. This is something you can do. Just be persistent And if it ever you're questioning, if you're uncomfortable, if you're just not sure you're doing it right, message me. I'm happy to take a look at it, even if it's something you haven't posted yet. Just send it to me, and I will let you know if this is going to work or if it's going to fall flat for who you're trying to talk to, or if maybe we need to dial it back. You know, if you tend to be somebody that talks too much and you keep going over that 60-second mark, maybe all you need is a little bit of coaching to help you pull that down a little bit. And I'm happy to help you guys do that. That's actually something for those of you who are Broadleaf members, I offer for our membership. So if you are already a Broadleaf member, you have access to me. If you are not a Broadleaf member, join and you will have access to me. And I will be happy to help you to evaluate your social media presence and to make sure that your efforts are really a good use of your time. Okay? And like I said, if you want some copies of these worksheets that I worked off of, you can email me, jessica@marketingnoodle.com. I don't really push my marketing services very much. I tend to focus on my own writing and things like that. So jessica@marketingnoodle.com. I do have a few of my business cards here if you want to grab those, so you can reach out and I'm happy to send you that PDF after the conference. In the 3 minutes we have left, if anybody would like to come up here and get some pictures, get some content, start rolling on that, let's do it. If you have any more questions, let me know.
I've been to quite a few different Zoom or other conferences on marketing, and this one really provided new information that none of those others did, so thank you.
Well, I'm glad that there was something new and interesting in this one. You ready for some content? Do you want to do it yourself or you want to do it with